Hey everybody, welcome to the Skylapser product review. Today we're going to take a look at this device here, and this is a star tracker from a Chinese company called TeSeek. And the wonderful thing about this Astro tracker is that it comes from China through Alibaba for less than $100. Between $75 and $85 you can get this full-featured star tracker. And so what is a star tracker? It is actually just a camera rotator, and so it has a shaft that rotates at the speed of the Earth turning, which we call sidereal speed, which is about 15 degrees per hour. And so the shaft will rotate in a clockwise or counterclockwise direction at the same speed that the Earth is rotating. And so if you align this to the North Pole, and then you can mount your camera to this shaft, and your camera will actually track the movement of the apparent movement of the stars. And so there are other devices out there on the market that are very similar to this. And from for example, there's a device from a company called Move, Shoot, Move, and that device actually cost about $250. So some things to note about this device: it is basically 3D printed in heavy-duty plastic. And it's actually pretty substantial and pretty heavy, and it supposedly will hold support up to 2.2 kilograms, so almost 5 pounds of camera, which is pretty amazing. One of the things that you need to note when you order this is that its base is a Arca-Swiss dovetail base, and it does not have tapped screws or for 3/8 or for 1/4 inch screws for your mounting on a typical tripod or ball head or pan tilt head. You would need to get an Arca-Swiss plate in order to mount this device. Fortunately, I did have a ball head at home that did have the 38 millimeter Arca-Swiss base, and so I can put that onto that base, and then I can use the ball head here to actually polar align this and aim this toward the North Star. And so I can adjust that angle and altitude and azimuth to point at the North Star. And so this is actually USB-C powered. It does not have an internal battery, and so you'll need to, and it does not come with a USB-C cable, so you'll have to supply your own cable. And you can plug in the USB-C right here, and that will power on the device, and it will automatically start tracking in the sidereal mode. It has a actual hard-mounted laser here, laser pointer, and so you can actually, when you power up the device, and there's a switch on the back here that will turn on or off that guide laser. And so that laser is already aligned to the device, and so you can aim that at the North Star and get a fairly accurate polar alignment. There's also a series of 4 dip switches here on the device, and by default those are all set to off or 0. And if that is the default setting, that is for a Northern Hemisphere sidereal tracking. And there's unfortunately the documentation for this device is in Chinese, and I did actually have to do a Google Translate of the manual to understand exactly what was going on. And so I will post a link to my Google translated document for the Wi-Fi of this device on the website. So, so this also has a Wi-Fi mode, so you can set it has an ad hoc Wi-Fi network, so when you power it up and you turn the first dip switch to up 1, and then you can log on to the device with your phone and go to the web page that was supplied in the documentation. I believe it's nanolight.cn, and that's a local there's a little web server running off the ESP32 chip in here, and so that would be a local ad hoc log on to that page. And then there's an actual app that was originally the app interface was only in Chinese, and I had to do a Google image translate to see exactly what that app does. But when I actually got this shipped to me, they now have a English translation on the app, and so you can use the Wi-Fi app to start and stop the device, and you can also set the speed to various different speeds, and you can set the hemisphere between northern hemisphere and southern hemisphere, and you can also make sure you can set it to sidereal speed, lunar speed, solar speed, or any speed of your actual choice that you want to use. And so that's really a cool little feature of the app, and I'll show some screenshots of that here as we go on. And it also has what we, basically a time-lapse mode, and so you can just use this as a time-lapse rotator, and it can move along the horizon, and you can again set the speed at which it rotates. So overall, it's a good little device. It's fairly adaptable. A couple things that you have to keep in mind: it does not have a drilled or tapped base for a normal tripod or ball head, and so you need to get an 38 millimeter Arca-Swiss base in order to mount the device. And then you also need a USB-A to USB-C cable in order to power the device, and you can probably run that off of a power bank battery, or plug it into the wall with a USB adapter. And then the other thing that you will need is some sort of ball head or tripod head to actually mount your camera. So this is a 3/8 inch 16 base ball head, and it has a quick release mount on it. And so I'll go ahead and install that on here on the rotator, and then I'll lower this down just a little bit so we can see the camera. And then you can mount a camera to that base. And so in my case, this is a Lumix G100 camera, quite lightweight, micro four thirds camera that does a great job of shooting time lapses. And so then you can mount that camera, and then you can polar align the device, and then you can actually point this camera at whatever object in the night sky that you want to. Oops, let me tighten this up, make sure this is totally tight. So you can aim this at an object in the night sky, and then that will actually track that object at sidereal speed. And so you need to buy or have a couple of different accessories to actually make this thing work, but in the end, this is really a nice little device, especially that you can pack up in your backpack if you're traveling or backpacking into the backcountry and you want to do some star tracking, and especially if you want to do Milky Way photography where you're actually tracking the Milky Way, and so that you don't get any star streaking and that sort of thing, is at the price of $85. I think that it's a really solid device, and that's what it's meant to do. So that's again, the TeSeek, T-E-S-E-E-K, Astro tracker. And you can get that on AliExpress, and I'll include a link below in the description. And that's our Skylapser product review.